Hey guys, welcome to the Field of 68 YouTube channel. If you like what you see here, hit that subscribe button and you'll get more college basketball content just like this. I have a list of 10 teams, and I'm going to guarantee right here and right now, we can make a bet and we can have a competition. We can do something with this, that one of these 10 teams will be the college basketball national champion when it is all said and done at the end of the season. I'm going to give you this list of 10 teams, and I want your reactions as I kind of roll through this list, because I do think that there are some names that aren't there that might surprise you guys. So based on the Almanac preseason top 25, I have the top 4 on my list. That is Duke number 1, that is Kansas number 2, that is Purdue number 3, and that is Michigan State number 4. Do you guys have any qualms with any of those teams? Fanta, you first.
No qualms at all. Simply put, no qualms at all. All 4 of those teams can win it. The people who say Big Ten title drought, Purdue can't win it, they can't win in March. I always go to Brad Underwood's words, and he says the key to making an NCAA tournament run is make the NCAA tournament, and then you see where the chips lie. Purdue is not losing. They're not having another first-round exit, and maybe that first-round win that they have come March gets them settled down and gets them to the level that they're capable of. Kansas and Duke, if you're betting against them, you're just a hater. And Michigan State has virtually everybody back, a top 10 recruiting class, and Tom Izzo.
Yeah, no argument with any of those. Guards win too, and Michigan State has those. I love that team this year. It seemed like we were kind of waiting to see on those guards each of the past 2 seasons. Now everybody is so gung-ho about Michigan State. I'm a part of that party. I like that team. Purdue, still unathletic, but I think going through last season's upset, what's the last time that happened where a 1 seed lost to a 16 seed? It was Virginia, and they won the national championship. Is that going to happen with Purdue? I don't know, but I do think that there's some obvious advantages to being that upset and still returning pretty much everybody. Kansas still has DeJuan Harris. I know everybody was expecting me to say somebody else, but they still have DeJuan Harris. I love that guy. He's the most underrated playmaker, and Duke is Duke. No rim protection at Duke. That worries me. Outside of that, they have everything else. So those 4 teams are certainly in the mix.
Yeah, we're going to dive into Duke a lot more later. We have an ACC preview coming up, and I'm going to pick your brain on that. Tio, there's 2 other teams in the ACC I'm really curious in your opinion on. Both of them wear a shade of orange. That's a little bit of a tease there. All right. The next 3 on my list are 3 Big East teams: Creighton, Marquette, and UConn. We kind of dove into this pretty deeply on last week's podcast. We don't need too much, but is there any reason for you to be concerned about having those 3 teams? TL, let's do you first here.
Creighton's an interesting one because I'm worried about their lack of depth a little bit. Not so much that they don't have the guys, because I love Ryan Kalkbrenner, excuse me. I think he's one of the best 5 men in the country. He is the best 5 man in the country, not named Zach Edey. And I mean that currently. Klingen's obviously very, very good, but at the same time, like he hasn't had that workload yet. So I think Kalkbrenner's the best 5 man in the country.
Would you take him over Hunter Dickinson?
Close, just because of his defensive presence, and Dickinson doesn't have that. That's why I would. But Dickinson offensively, obviously, you have to go towards him. But we're talking about Creighton. Trey Alexander is a bucket getter when you need him to be, and Baylor Shireman is kind of that rebound and run type of forward that can initiate their offense. I like what Creighton's added. Stephen Ashworth is kind of a perfect fit for Creighton because he's one of the best shooters in all of college basketball, and he doesn't need the ball in his hands. I think there's going to be a lot of movement, and that ball's not going to stick. So Creighton's going to be fun. After those guys, I'm curious to see what works, because let's be honest, I know Kalkbrenner doesn't get in foul trouble, but I feel like you're bound to get in foul trouble at some point. The depth is a question for me.
Or just get tired, man. Like 40 minutes is a lot of minutes.
Yeah. Who else did you put? You put UConn and Marquette?
Yep.
Love Marquette for all the reasons that I've loved Marquette for 2 years. Oso Ighodoru's a matchup nightmare and Big East Player of the Year. Tyler Kolek's good. Cam Jones might average 20 a game. Who's going to be that guy that steps up? I think David Joplin could be. And then UConn, I don't consider them a national championship threat this year because they went from really old, really big, and really deep to really talented and really young. And young is very good to have. It's also tough to corral sometimes. And when you play for a guy like Hurley, who is maniacal in his approach. I think sometimes guys need a year or two to kind of get prepared for something like that. So while I still love UConn to be at the top of the Big East, I don't necessarily feel like they're a national title threat simply because of that youth.
Fair enough. Fanta?
Well, you're picking 10 teams on this list, not 5. Or 4. So I'm going to agree with you that these 3 teams should be on the list of 10.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's 2 quick things that I would bring up. Number 1, I love Marquette. I think their team is great. Shaka Smart has made it to the second weekend of the NCAA tournament one time in his coaching career. One time. And it was in 2011 when he took VCU to the Final Four.
I'm going to go ahead and make a bold prediction here that streak ends this season. As if Tyler Kolek doesn't hurt his wrist in the NCAA tournament, I think we're having a different conversation about that specifically, but that's neither here nor there.
And
You're
it
right.
should. It should end. It's still a legitimate thing. And we all know how hard it is to win in the NCAA tournament and how when you look at a winning coach in the tournament, the sigh of relief they have after a win because you've moved on and it's that last man standing competition. Shaka Smart's a great coach, but if we're judging the best programs on NCAA tournament runs, it's time for Marquette to get to that second weekend. They've got the talent to do it. Guys, I saw a picture of Stevie Mitchell yesterday. I am not sure what he did over the offseason. He already was a hard worker. Guys, you've got to see a photo of him. Holy cow.
A lot of that.
Yeah, a lot of that. Their offseason program looks like it was a resounding success. That whole roster's bought in. Marquette has the best culture in the country. I'm confident in saying that. They have unbelievable culture. Oso Ighodaro is the perfect mobile 5. He fits modern-day basketball, and he's just a really great college player. David Joplin is on the Field of 68 Almanac's breakout players list for good reason. I turn to Creighton. Creighton was one whistle away, fair whistle, but one whistle away from making the Final Four.
Was it a fair whistle?
Well, I get a lot of hate for this, but I thought it was a foul, but I hated that the game ended that way, right? And then people are like, well, you shouldn't hate. It was a foul. I didn't like it, but it is what it is. It was a foul. But Creighton went 3-8 over an 11-game span last year. 3-8, and they still came this close to making the Final Four. They're not going to have a 3-8 stretch over an 11-game span this year. And I think that last possession against San Diego State serves as the motivation. I think Creighton is the best team in the Big East, and I'll die on that hill. And I think they're going to prove to people that while you have some depth concerns, Terrence, I understand your reasoning. I understand everything there. But there have been some great teams that with about 6 guys get it done. Mm-hmm. And I think they're going to be able to get it done because their elite is elite. I love UConn. They have to be in the mix. So the defending national champions. The thing about Klingon, I know he hasn't taken on that workload yet, but nothing would tell me he's not ready to be an All-American candidate.
Yeah. I think that they're going to be really good. Yeah, you don't have to die on the hill. We need you here. We need you on this podcast when T.O. ditches us for the NBA. So
I go nowhere.
The last 3 teams on my list are a little bit. I guess.
Hey, by the way, the only reason I got this gig is because somebody left you for the NBA.
Oh,
what was it? OJ and it was it Fanta and a splash of Fanta, or who was it?
Oh God.
Oh yeah.
Well, first off, I've never worked with O.J. Simpson.
Yeah, I was going to say it wasn't O.J. It definitely wasn't O.J.
Who was it?
Make that clear right now.
It definitely was not O.J. He's a coach. He's a coach, though. Well, I don't want to call him out.
Well, he left you.
Who are the last 3 teams?
Oh
no, you know what it was? It was Deshaun Butler. That's what it was. This pod was supposed to be with Deshaun Butler, and the Deshaun Butler went to the G League, and now he's an assistant at
what was the name?
In West Virginia. Deshaun Butler.
Nichols. We wish him the best of luck in his next endeavor.
Demetrius and a splash of Fanta.
Yeah. It was a Field of 68 original.
Yes.
Yeah.
OG.
Isn't he at Wake Forest now?
He's somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, he took a job. Yeah, he's
ACC pod.
There you go. All right. The last 3 teams on my list are a little bit outside the box. And I'm very curious to see what your reaction is going to be to these. Number 1, Miami. I'm always in on Miami. I'm always in on a team that has good guards, and I'm always in on a team that is coached by Jim Larrañaga. He just figures out how to do it in March because he gets guards that can go and make plays. Number 2, Arizona. Same kind of a thing. I understand the hesitation with Caleb Love. I understand the hesitation with Jaden Bradley. I understand the hesitation with the I'm blanking on the other sophomore's name. Help me out.
You got
Kylan Boswell. Kylan Boswell.
Yeah.
But that's as talented of a backcourt as you're going to find anywhere in the country. They're going to be up and down, but the talent is there. And the reviews that I've heard coming out of some of the early workouts this summer have been very, very high. They're going to be more athletic than they were last year. I don't think you're going to have the same kind of matchup problems against smaller teams with the San Diego State kid, Kashad Johnson, at the 4. Very high on them. Your boy, Pella Larson, T.O., very high on him. And the last one, this might surprise some people. The last one that I have on this list is the Kentucky Wildcats.
Oh,
I was going to put North Carolina. You throw them in there.
Big news. The Almanac is officially back. The most exhaustive and comprehensive guide to the 2023-24 college basketball season is available for pre-order now. If you go to cbbalmanac.com, link is in the description below, you can pre-order for just $15.99 or 20% off the sticker price. The format is going to be a little bit different this season. Instead of an 850-page PDF, you'll be getting access to the full site with league-by-league PDFs available for download. The preview will be live on September 20th. So you have until then to be able to get your pre-orders in. So for insight for all 362 Division I teams from their head coaches and the experts that cover them, make sure you hit that link. Now I don't hate the North Carolina call, and we'll talk about them in a minute.
I would have put Arkansas in.
Yeah. I just questioned some of the shooting there, like the high level talent. This is what I'll say with Kentucky is that I can see a situation where they're like a 6 seed that gets knocked out in the first round. I could see them being a 2 or a 3 seed that makes a run to the Final Four. I could see them ending up being an 11 seed that gets to the Elite 8. I could see them not making the NCAA tournament. Like I think the range of outcomes for that team is ridiculous. If Aaron Bradshaw plays, if DJ Wagner lives up to the hype, if Antonio Reeves and Trey Mitchell can provide some level of stability as fifth-year seniors, I think we're looking at a team that has a very nice blend of veterans and youth. And if this is the most important part, John Calipari goes all the way in on like the pace and space and three-point shooting, I think that team has a very high ceiling. Now, the one
any
team
other
that I did
year,
not mention,
I would agree with you.
Not this year. All right, last thing.
Any other 5-year stretch of history, I would agree with you.
Fair enough. All right, this is what I want to ask you guys, because the team that I left out in our top 10, on the Almanac's top 10, I left out FAU. I just think that it's very hard to repeat what they did last year, and I think that they are a good team. I think that they have been buoyed. I think they're more like a top 20 kind of a team than a top 10 kind of a team, if that makes sense. There's like an NBA talent level that is just not there that there is at some of these other high major programs. I wanted to make a run. I just think that these are the kind of things where sometimes it comes back to earth. Tennessee, sorry, Rick Barnes, just don't trust you in March. But here's the one I want to ask you guys about.
You see how Rob treats you whenever you signed up for the Field of 68 Invitational? You see how he treats you? He gets you to sign up, Fanta.
It's the Field of 68
for the Field of 68 Invitational.
It's the Field of 68 tip-off. It's the Field of 68 tip-off.
Invitational tip-off, same difference.
Field of 68
you know what happens? They immediately start downplaying you. It's unreal.
You see what happens when you get a job in the NBA? You just take limitless shots.
Yeah, I know. You just been blasting everybody today, T.O. I do want to ask you guys about Houston. I don't have the Cougars on my list.
Yeah.
Big fan of Cougars is Rob Dauster typically.
Is that
oh my God.
My wife calls herself a Puma. She says that Cougars are too old, so she calls herself a Puma.
Where's the discrepancy between a Cougar and a Puma? Is it 35? When do you turn where do you turn from Puma to Cougar?
They're like literally the same animal. It's just different names.
Is that true?
Animal. Pretty sure, yeah.
There's no way.
I've never heard somebody refer to them as the Houston Pumas.
Cougars, mountain lions, they're all the same animal. It's just like a different place that they live. Yeah.
So if Houston is on that list to try to get us back on the track,
Fanta's got to go at 11.
I think that's interesting because for a variety of reasons. Number one, the logical reason is, has Houston been really well conditioned to go deep into March because they have not had to go through the grind that they're about to endure through in December, January, February in the Big 12. The other thing is, and they reloaded, they brought in LJ Cryer from Baylor, they brought in Damian Dunn from Temple, two very skilled players, two great assets to play off Jamal Shed. To me, though, like, you lost Marcus Sasser, you lost Tremont Mark, you lost an NBA high draft pick in Jarris Walker, and you lost Reggie Chaney. They lost great players, Sasser being the best. Do they have an All-American on this team?
Pryor is going to be close. But this is my line of thinking, and tell me if you think this is crazy. One, I don't think that they have great guard play. I think they have good guard play. I don't know if they have great guard play, specifically point guard play. That's something that's a little bit of a red flag to me. And two, Kelvin didn't go out in the portal and go try to add any front court depth to replace Reggie Chaney. Now, what often happens is you have this assembly line of 6'8", 230-pound athletic dudes with 7'5" wingspans that they find all of those guys and they just churn them out and they wait until they're ready to go. Javier Francis is going to be the guy that in theory would play next to Juwan Roberts as the 4 role. But what I'm hearing coming out of Houston is that we may see more small ball, right? We may see more Terrence Arsenault at the 4. We may see more lineups where Emmanuel Sharp gets on the floor with the other 2 guards. It sounds like 5 of their 6 best players are perimeter players. And when you are a Houston team that is built around toughness and built around physicality and built around defense and pounding the offensive glass and all the things that have made them great over the years, I just wonder whether going 4 guards and playing small like that is something that will work. T.O.'s taking a nap over there.
No.
Have we tired you out?
No. I'm good.
Are you worried about Houston?
No.
No, I'm not worried about them. I just don't know.
The only thing of being worried is more so to do with the league they're about to move into.
Yeah.
That's really the only thing, and I don't necessarily see that as a negative. I think it's just they're going to go into the NCAA tournament with 25 wins instead of 31 or something. Like it's a grind, that Big 12 schedule. That's kind of my only thing. But you said earlier that Marquette has the best culture in basketball. It's a different culture, but Houston,
you're right.
As far as like what you're considering the best, I mean, there's certainly categories for that. So he's got to be up there too. It's certainly a different one, but it's equally as effective, if not more effective than Marquette has been over the last X amount of years.
Your Miami pick is great, and it transitions us right to the ACC preview. But your Miami pick is great because, one, look at the last 2 years, Elite Eight and first Final Four in the history of the school. And yes, they say goodbye to Isaiah Wong, who had an amazing career. And yes, they say goodbye to Jordan Miller, but they still have enough really, really strong players. I mean, Nigel Pack is still walking through that door. Wooga Poplar, is it Poplar or Poplar?
Poplar. A dude. He's gonna take off.
He's a dude, and Norchan Omier is a dude too. And not to mention they brought in Matthew Cleveland, who's a guy who at Florida State was averaging 14, 15 points per game and is tough. He's a tough mofo. Miami's good. Miami is great. And Miami, again this year, heading into the season, the national person, meaning us, I understand people are going to be like, Duke is number 1 in the ACC. And then Carolina, are they back? Carolina. Like, we don't talk about Miami until we get to like the 3rd or 4th point on the ACC. We need to change that. We should be talking about Miami 1 or 2. Miami should be 2nd in the ACC preseason poll, and they absolutely can win the ACC title.
Yep. And not only that, they got a young man named Kaishan George who played in French Pro B last year that shot like 34-35% from 3. Pro B is a good league. And like he's a really good player, 6'7", rangy, can do a lot of things with the basketball. That underrated that didn't get the publicity. But like this Miami train's not stopping, guys. They just got Jalil Bethea, who is a top 10 player in next year's class. Like Miami's going to, they're continuing to be good. And the crazy thing is they get all these, that's it. They get all these guys from the Northeast and up in Minnesota to where like, hey man, weather's pretty good down here. Plus we got some NIL situations. That are nice.
For the people that are listening to this and aren't watching it on YouTube, Fanta is dropping dollar bills. When I first saw you do that, I thought you were dropping powder, and I was like, "Oh my God, Fanta!" Like powder in Miami. I was like, "Dude,
that's the old Miami. Miami's really cleaned up."
You can't do that. You can't do that on the DTF podcast, man.
America, I don't do drugs.
Thank you for watching the Field of 68. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here, hit that like button, share this link with your friends, or check out the description for some other places that you can consume Field of 68 content.